pray that he comes and saves you. Always, they Demented. I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Demented One channel. I'm your host, Tex, and I have another very special show tonight with a very special guest that I've been wanting to get on here for a little while, and that is none the other, Hydra M. Star. Hydra, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good.
I'm good. Yeah. Staying busy, I'm sure.
Always busy.
Now,
Always busy.
you're in North Carolina.
Charlotte.
Charlotte, okay. Which I'm kind of excited because now I finally have another Southerner on the show, which I haven't had at all. I'm always getting picked on with my accent and everything, so.
Well, I definitely have a Southern accent, so
Yeah,
you're
right.
you're not alone tonight.
Me too, yeah. John Shaw and Dan, they definitely love to let me know I have a Southern accent. So.
You have to get Daniel Bird on sometimes. He has a beautiful Southern accent as well.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, but you're doing good?
Doing great.
What's been going on? What's new?
Well, always working on the magazine. Just put out a new issue of Infernal Ink on the 1st, so working on that. Working on a couple of editing projects and wood burning.
Staying
Just
busy.
same old, I guess.
Yeah. Now, you were at the 50th anniversary for the Church of Satan, and
Yes.
some of the guests I've had on that was there, I've got them to kind of explain their experience a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your experience there? And
I mean, it's kind of one of those things, you know, the old cliche of you had to be there.
right,
There was a lot of it that you had to be there. I mean, it was amazing. The ritual was amazing. The salons were utterly amazing. I'm going to be interviewing Storm and Renee Anderson about the subject of their salon, which is their Halloween and summer festival,
very nice.
pretty soon. And it was just, I mean, it was really good. Of course, I got to visit the new Black House, which was amazing.
Right. Yeah, I saw pictures.
Got to see it. Yeah, I mean, one of the most amazing parts of that for me personally was seeing a piece I had made for Magistra Andromeda in her bar in the house. So that
Very
was
nice.
that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
But it was just, it was just a good time.
All right. Awesome. Met a lot of people.
Met a lot of people. Saw a lot of people again that I hadn't seen in a while, and yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Had to be there, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was, there's a lot of little things that, you wouldn't, little inside things, I guess, that you wouldn't really get if you weren't there. But it was, it was good, even though David and Heather's dog tried to assassinate me as I was going into the Black House. But
Oh, that's too funny.
it wasn't Ava's fault. She was very nervous. Too many people.
Yeah. I have heard about the salons and the ritual. Everybody that I've talked to, they said that was, pretty much a lot of the highlight of their the experience there.
Yeah.
So, really cool.
A lot of Magistra Andromeda went over a lot of the church history in her presentation. That was very, very cool. Very cool.
Neil Smith, he did one, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah, I heard that was pretty good.
Magistra Smith. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Hydra, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about who you are, for people that might be viewing that don't know who you are, and where you come from.
Well, I was born and raised on a farm, actually.
Right.
Little farming community, Falkland, North Carolina, right outside of Greenville, which is where ECU is. Anybody who's familiar with North Carolina. My grandfather was a tobacco farmer back when, cigarettes weren't evil.
Right.
And that was just how I grew up. And my father, he was a police officer, so just typical Southern upbringing, really. And then when I was around 21, I moved to Charlotte. got away from the farm.
Yeah. It's not much of a big difference though with Charlotte, is it? I mean, I know it's a little bit bigger town, of course, city, but
It's 800,000 people.
okay, I stand
It's
corrected.
a little bit bigger than the farm.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Well, I'm in South Carolina.
It's over
so-
800,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in South Carolina, so I'm not too far from you. So I know.
Yeah.
Been to Charlotte a lot of times, but yeah, I definitely love the South. I can't.
Yeah, Charlotte's only like 30, we're only like 30, 40 minutes from the border with South Carolina. So,
Right.
yeah. And I would like to distinguish that I'm in Charlotte because we do not care what your genitals are when you use the bathroom here. And we got all that shit started
Right.
with the rest of the state, where the rest of the state turned against us. And now they care what your genitals are when you use the bathroom. But here in Charlotte, we don't care what
That's
genitals.
so fucking crazy, man. Man,
Just don't piss on the floor. you
Right,
know?
yeah, just don't piss on the floor. Man, it's people take stuff to the next level. It's been crazy. I mean, of course, with all the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter crap that's been going on, especially on social media, it just gets tiresome, man. See,
Yeah, people get very emotional about things. I mean, I understand the emotion. I mean, my stepdaughter is black,
okay.
biracial, and I mean, and I look at her and it's like, I mean, I see how some people treat her. So I mean, when people tell me, oh, racism isn't a thing anymore, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's still a thing.
yeah.
But people get way too emotionally invested in one incident.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think too. I mean, I know racism is still a big thing, but I think me and you, being here in the South, kind of in the deep South, we see it maybe a little bit more, or it's a little bit more open here, of course. But it's crazy, man. Yeah. And the funny thing is, the ones that fuss and complain about racism, they're the ones that's pretty much biggest racism of them all, especially around here. You're a little country boy.
Oh yeah.
Stuff. So.
Oh yeah. There's racism on both sides, and it just perpetuates and keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. Well, let's talk about Infernal Ink. How's that going?
Oh, Infernal Ink. It's going really, really well. We are in our 5th volume, which means this is our 5th year of doing it. Or I keep saying we, even though now it is a solo project.
Was it Dave?
We've been doing it for
Lipscomb
5 years.
with you?
Yes,
Okay, and
he
he's no longer-
was my partner.
Right.
He is no longer with the magazine. He's gone on to do other things. He has a shop where he sells art and that sort of thing. But he's gone on to do other things. But so the cover art this month is a lot different than it has been in the past. But it's still, I mean, it's going good. Going strong. We publish mostly erotic horror.
Right. Yeah, I was going to get you to maybe tell a little bit about what Infernal Ink is before, I mean, a lot of viewers that are going to be watching this knows already, but maybe some that don't know. Talk to us a little bit about what Infernal Ink is.
Well, when we first started it at the time, Dave and I were doing a column for a now defunct online magazine called Erotica, which was one of the few magazines at that time when it started that accepted horror fiction that had sexual elements or erotic elements to it. And there was some mismanagement with the magazine, and it was kind of in decline. I was like, well, let's just do something ourselves. Let's just put out a magazine ourselves. And that was kind of how the whole thing got started, because everywhere I would go to submit things myself, because I'm a writer myself,
Right.
everywhere I would go to submit things, I would read the guidelines, and it would say stuff like, no gratuitous sex. Sex must be, integral to the story, or, it would have this long list of things you couldn't have.
Right.
In the story, and I was like, this is no good, because this was kind of during the height of the Twilight rage, so everybody was trying to tap into that PG-13 young adult market. And I was like, no, let's do something completely different.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Now, I know I heard you talk on the Devil You Know podcast. Is it hard to be out or to get noticed, so to speak, with how the internet is now? I know I heard you say it's easy to get out there, but it's kind of harder to get, I guess, noticed. Or
it's very easy to get your product out there now. I mean, I have a e-single and book that's ready to go right now, and I can literally have it up with a couple of clicks of my mouse and just a little weight on Kindle. So getting it out there's no problem, as long as you know how to do the formatting and editing and all that. Getting noticed is difficult because now everyone is publishing. There's small presses all over. It is very, very difficult. You just have to find like your corner of the market. I deal a lot with erotic horror and bizarro fiction. Really extreme stuff, which does fairly well.
Yeah, I can kind of relate with the channel here. I mean, there's a dime a dozen YouTube channels. I mean, from anything.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of YouTubes and podcasts.
Tons and tons. But you find kind of your glitch and you stick with it, and you basically grow an audience. So I can.
That's the important part. I mean, that's the important part, is sticking with it.
Right.
Because your audience is not going to find you right away.
Right.
And when they find you, they will go back and buy every issue you've put out. They will view every video you've uploaded once they find you.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep at it.
Yeah, definitely agree. How did you get into writing? Was that something that you always knew you wanted to do as a young girl?
Pretty much. I always wrote like little stories, because I mean, like I said, I grew up on the farm. It wasn't exactly exciting growing up on a farm. We had 3 television stations, and
we had cow tipping.
Well, yeah, you had.
I mean, some people might not know what that is.
Deer spotlighting was the big thing. But I wrote a lot of stories and little things like that when growing up, and then when I got into high school, I went through a teenage bad poetry writing phase. I'm not a very good poet at all, and kind of from there I just started doing more stories, and only really got serious about it in around like 2006 or so. With getting things published, so yeah, kind of something I've always done.
All right, what's some kind of your inspirations behind your writings?
One of the books I have out now, Candy, Blood, and Sex, is kind of inspired by. It's inspired by 2 things: Little Red Riding Hood, because I'm obsessed with fairy tales, and Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome always really kind of fascinated me as a disorder, I guess is what you would consider it. The idea that you could be kidnapped and treated horribly and then somehow fall in love with the captor. It's just as a concept that fascinates me. Things like that is usually what inspires me. The e-single book I just spoke about releasing, it's based on the idea of what would a group of Satanists do if suddenly the gates of hell literally open and it's the apocalypse.
Wow.
It was based off of that idea, and then my obsession with tulpas.
Very interesting.
People should go look up, because I'm not even going to try to explain what a tulpa is. People should just go look that up. It's a Tibetan thing. Just go look it up, and that story come out of that. So usually I have like dual inspirations, but a lot of things like tulpas and the idea of Stockholm Syndrome and mental disorders and things like that inspire me.
Right.
Fascinating.
Nice. I didn't know if maybe, I know you said you grew up on a farm and stuff, you didn't really have TV or whatever. I didn't know if maybe some of like the horror movies from the 80s and stuff like that maybe played a role.
I was not allowed to watch horror movies until I was around 15 or 16 years old, because my mother was convinced they were going to frighten me. But she's probably right, because I mean the house and property we grew up in was haunted.
Aren't they all?
There was weird spooky stuff that went on, and so
Right.
I think they were scared of agitating it
Right.
with
Right.
horror movies or whatever. But no, I wasn't actually allowed to watch that sort of stuff growing up. It was all Andy Griffith and Thundercats, pretty much.
Old Mayberry.
Yes, Mayberry. Still one of my favorite shows, though. I mean, I'll
It's a
still
fun
go
show.
on Netflix sometimes and just binge watch whole seasons of it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, the parents back then, they would say the horror movies of that time was, to frighten you, and it would. I grew up, obsessed with Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, and all that. But my son, which is 9 years old, and you put on the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and he just thinks it's retarded, just dumb. Like, it doesn't scare him at all. And it's like, this guy freaking terrorized me. I didn't want to go to bed at night. But yeah, it's funny how times
My
change.
daughter has absolutely no interest in anything horror related.
Really?
At all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, no interest. But she's 15, so she's a little older than your boy, but none. I mean, her father is into it, I'm into it, and it's like she just could not care less. All she wants to do is watch comedies all the time.
Yeah. My son, he's funny. I mean, because none of that scares him. But if you put a movie on about like a wild dog or a lion or something, that'll scare the hell out of him. Which is, I guess, could be, more realistic, I guess. But
Well, at least you won't have to worry about him falling into any enclosures at the zoo.
yeah.
I mean,
It's too funny. All right. Well, The Burning Witch. Well, first, let me back up. You mentioned Candy, Blood, and Sex, your book.
yes. Yes. Oh, yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, this airs this Friday, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That book is going to be free on Kindle starting that Friday and then the whole weekend. So anybody who wants to pick it up and read it on Kindle can do so for free. Please leave a review, because that's important and people don't do it. And I don't even care if you bitch about the book, honestly. At this point, you can leave a 1-star review and bitch about.
Just review it. Just give it a review.
Just
read it and give it a review.
I don't even care at this point. So that's the first thing I want to say. And it is
Awesome.
It's a werewolf. It's a werewolf novella. It's like 50-something pages.
And it's free. You're doing it for free.
It's going to be free for that weekend.
Very nice.
Through Kindle. There's also a nice print edition people can buy if they're like, ew, ebooks.
Right.
But obviously can't make that free.
Right.
But they can get it free on Kindle this weekend.
Nice. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about the book. What you said it's kind of about werewolves, or
Yeah, it actually is set in North Carolina, oddly enough, in the mountains. And it starts out with the family going camping, and they're brutally killed, except for the daughter. And then she grows up, and she's kidnapped, taken by these people, these strange people who think they're werewolves, and how that kind of plays out from there. It is erotic.
Okay.
There is sex. Her initiation into the pack is basically a gangbang.
Wow.
That's how I roll, apparently.
All right. If you want to know more, read the book.
Read the book. That's about all I can give away without spoilers. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's talk about the Burning Witch. How did you get involved in that?
Oh well, wood burning. I'm told calling it pyrography is pretentious. By the way. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes, I've been told calling it
Wow.
pyrography is pretentious of me. So wood burning, so as not to offend anyone's fragile.
So we don't want to do that here on this channel, you know.
Wood burning. I got into that 13, 14 or so. I did it in an art class. The day after I did it, which I was lucky enough to be one of the first people that got to use the tool. The day after we started, a boy badly burned himself and the tool was taken away. Never to be seen again.
Just like
and
boys.
then, yeah, you know. He was horsing around with a friend, and you know, well, I'm going to get you with it. I'm going to get you. Well, he got him, and so you know that was taken away, and several about 10 years later, when I was in my early 20s, I was wanting to do a altarpiece, and this was before Reverend Bird was doing them, and you could just go buy them. I wanted to do an altarpiece, but I suck at painting. I suck so hard at painting. And I was like, you know, I was in the hobby shop, and I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because I've tried painting like 3 of them, and they all look like crap. So I saw the wood burning tool, and I was like, you know, hey, I remember liking doing that and fooling around with that some as a kid. So I bought one. I bought some wood, and it was actually a tabletop.
Right.
And I did a burning, and then it just, I mean, after I got online with it a few years later, people started asking me about it and want me to do various things for them. And I did mostly Ouija boards for a long time. Nice. And then I finally opened a shop. And if people want to see that original piece I made, you can go to my cat's Facebook page. Yes, my cat has a Facebook page. Cyrus the Orange, and the picture of him in the display picture is him sitting in front of the very first sigil of Baphomet I ever burned.
Nice. And I've seen some of your work, you know, the pictures and stuff, and it looks amazing. So definitely kudos to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, I know you probably get a lot of requests, you know, what is some of the craziest, or maybe a few if you could think of, requests you've got?
You know,
for
I
wood
mean,
burning?
I'm pretty crazy, so it takes a lot. I mean, I always say I was raised by crazy, so it takes a lot to really, you know, put up my red flags where I'm like, okay, you're a complete lunatic. Right. You know, my favorite request, and this is crazy, is I will get people who will message me and say, can you do a sigil of Baphomet, burn it in red on a black background?
All right.
I'm like, you have no concept of what I do you? You have no concept of what's happening here at all. You know, I get that request a lot. The red on the black. I mean, it's not just the sigil of Baphomet. It's all, you know, I get it for the different sigils that I do. Can you do this in red? No, I cannot burn that in red. That is not how fire works. No. But you know, I don't want to say crazy. The most special customer I've had was a gentleman who was a Luciferian, and he told me straight out the gate he was a Luciferian, which, you know, more power to him. And you know, it all went fairly well until he told me that he felt he had known me in a past life.
Wow.
And that we had gone through several lifetimes together as friends, because I mean he was apparently homosexual, so he wasn't interested in me in that way. But and it's like, I mean, you know, how do you respond to that? It's like, I don't know you at all,
right.
except for you sent me some money and I'm burning something for you, and now we've gone through several lifetimes together. It was a little strange. I mean, he was a very nice guy, very sweet guy. But
Just
I'm
wasn't
I
all
don't
there.
know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't quite know how to respond
Right.
to that. I mean, my basic response was, well, I don't really believe in past lives, so I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's kind of like the people who tell you, you're going to hell. It's like, I don't believe in hell. I don't know what to do with this statement. So yeah, I mean, that was a little strange. But yeah, mostly I just get odd color requests.
Right. The Luciferian. Too funny. Well,
at least he didn't call himself a Satanist. That's all I know.
There you go.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll give him that much credit.
Well, moving on to the Satanism part of the show.
Okay.
You are a Satanist. When and how did you realize that you were a Satanist?
I was 17. I was in high school when, the Antichrist Superstar album, and everyone went absolutely batshit fucking crazy.
Hey, I was one of those guys, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I liked him.
it.
Don't get me wrong. I went through my Manson stage, but I mean, we had churches in my town. They were burning stuff.
Oh yeah, I know.
They were praying for Brian Warner, and I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, it just everybody lost their damn minds.
Oh yeah.
And and until to backtrack just a little bit, one of my uncles, my mother's brother, had been involved with a devil worshiping group in the 70s. So that had kind of always been an idea that was in my mind, that there were these people that worship the devil. Yeah. And because I mean, my family has extravagant stories about that, but none of it I actually believe. But I mean, you know how Southerners like to spin a yarn. So, so when the Manson thing hit, I was like, I mean, I've been here. You keep hearing Satanism.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about LaVey and the Church of Satan, and it's like, okay, let's go find out what this is really about. So I went to the Barnes and Nobles and was like, do you have any books by this LaVey person? And they did. I mean, they had all of his books. They're on the shelf. And I was like, okay, well, let's start with the Satanic Bible. And I was expecting, like, just kookiness. I mean, I was expecting, like, killing goats and,
right,
burying things at crossroads at midnight, just crazy shit. And,
right.
I read it, and it was like, this makes more sense than anything ever, pretty much. Because I was already an atheist at that point.
Right.
And I was like, this makes a lot of sense. And by the end of it, I mean, by the end of the book, which I can tell you the exact date I finished the book because I wrote it down in the back. It was May 19th, 1997.
Nice.
And by the end of the book, I already knew I was a Satanist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a member before the year was out.
Nice.
Because I mean, I joined pretty much right away because this was early internet days. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I need to tell you we did not have internet on the farm. So it was very much you get an envelope and a piece of paper, and because no computer. I mean, I think I had a typewriter at the time. Mm-hmm. But you get a piece of paper and you get an envelope and a stamp, and you write to this LaVey person and you find out what the deal is with this church.
Right.
And that's what I did, and became a member, and haven't looked back. Awesome.
Now, I know you growing up in the South. This may be a dumb question, but was your family, are they real religious or?
Okay, my mother and my mother's side of the family are evangelical Pentecostal holiness.
Oh,
I mean,
that's what I grew up in.
Snakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, not quite dancing with snakes.
Speaking in tongues.
speaking in tongues, flopping around on the floor, running round and around the church, like, you know. I mean, I witnessed some shit. I'm telling you.
I'm with you.
I've witnessed some shit. Okay.
I'm with you.
And I mean, that was my mother's family. You know, falling out with the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah, Holy Ghost.
I can do an amazing fake. You know, speaking in tongues and flopping around on the floor because you know you learn to fake it because you know you're it's expected. I mean, you know, so you have to act like a damn fool.
Because if you didn't fall out, you know, you wasn't a true Christian in the first place. You know,
I mean, they gonna lay hands on you too. If you don't fall out, they gonna lay hands on your ass. Okay, they gonna circle around you.
Right.
And everybody gonna put their hands on you, and they gonna pray. They gonna pray until that spirit overtakes you and you on the damn floor. Okay, I mean that shit's gonna happen.
Yep.
Okay, there's no getting around.
I remember at a young, I was very young, but I went because that's what we grew up in, and my family, and I was scared shitless. You know, they were supposedly casting out demons, and these people were coughing and up this.
They casting out demons. One of my cousins had to have a demon cast out, or it's crazy shit. I've seen some shit. I'm telling you.
I mean, this was shit way before Bob Larson was going strong.
Yeah. I mean, this is like in your house crazy shit. I mean, this is, you know, I mean, they're casting out demons, and they just, I mean, yeah, that's my mother's side of the family. They gone. Right. I mean, they are. Whew.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So, you know, I mean, growing up in that, and it's like, you know, I'm kind of, and I mean, I knew I was faking it. I mean, I knew I was faking the shit out of that stuff. And it's like, you know, I'm looking around like, who else is faking? Like, you know.
Yeah, they pretty much all.
I'm pretty sure the guy collecting the money, he's probably faking it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, you start looking around, you know, people. It's like, you know, but the most horrible thing, went to a tent revival. If people don't know what a tent revival is, that's like everything we just described, but now you're outside and it's hot.
Yeah, hot.
Okay?
For hours.
Summer in the South, and you're under like a damn party tent outside. Okay, and you're having church, okay? Yeah. And it's usually like during the week. Yeah. Okay, we're not talking Sunday. I mean, they have these tent revivals, and it goes from like Sunday to Sunday every night for like hours. Yep. Okay, I mean, okay, for people, so that's what a tent revival is. So we went to this tent revival. My mother, she couldn't attend for some reason. I think she had work or something, and my grandparents took me, and I was about 10, 11 years old, something like that. And we're waiting to go into the tent, and the preacher, you know, the visiting preacher, because always the visiting preacher at the tent.
The revivalist,
So the visiting preacher comes around. He's shaking hands and, you know, kissing babies or whatever the fuck they do. And he comes over and, you know, he's shaking my hand, and, you know, they're talking something about my mother or something. And he goes, "Is your mother here?" And I was like, "No, she couldn't make it." And like, "No, sir, you know, she couldn't make it tonight." And he goes, "Well, you need to try to get your mother here tomorrow night because you don't want your mother to go to hell, do you?"
Oh,
and I'm like, and even at that age, I mean, even at like 10 or 11 years old, I'm thinking that's a really fucked up thing to say to a child. Yeah. Like, that's really fucked up.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that was my mother's side of the family.
Okay.
Now, my father's side of the family, they were slightly more rational. My father's was until I was 19 years old and he found Jesus. He was atheist when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And his father was more or less agnostic, leaning towards atheist, would never quite make the there is no God commitment. Right. And my grandmother was, well, the best way to describe my grandmother is if she were alive today, she would be a super mega fan of Ancient Aliens.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe her. That's kind of what she was into. Mm-hmm. It's her explanation, you know, the Garden of Eden was another planet. The angels and God were aliens, and, you know, which made more sense than the tent revival people, but...
Very true. More interesting, anyway.
Made us, you know, it made for a better story.
Right.
She also had this weird thing where, you know, going back to the subject of racism and race in the South, she had this. She believed very strongly that Adam and Eve, the original humans, were black. Which, I mean, DNA kind of susses that out now, that the original human population were from Africa. Right. She had this very strong belief that Jesus was black. Okay. And she would buy like these pictures of black Jesus for, like, it's like black alien Jesus. I don't even I can't even I can't even wrap my head around it, because Jesus was like part alien, but he was also black, because God was an alien, so Jesus had to be Jesus was like the hybrid black alien Jesus. I don't quite understand it, but she would buy like these pictures of like black Jesus and give them to family members. And we had one. We had a nice little porcelain plate with black Jesus on it on our wall in our house. And that used to annoy my other grandmother, the tent revival one, because she was a former member of the KKK.
Oh yeah, so Jesus had to be white.
Yeah, Jesus was white. I mean, blue-eyed, blonde hair, white.
Yeah.
So it was like this interesting dynamic between the two sides of my family, where my grandmother's got the alien black Jesus, and my father and her husband are kind of like, we don't believe in any of this. Right. But that's kind of the way I was raised.
That's still funny. I always found it funny. I'd go to my friend's house. If they were black, it would be black Jesus on the wall, and I'd go over to my white friends, white Jesus on the wall. And I remember thinking at a young age, who the fuck is this guy? I mean, nobody can get this guy right. Was he a Jew or what? I mean, but
was he Jew? Was he white? Was he black? I mean, yeah, it's
it's all confusing, man. It just
and I mean, it was just but my two grandmothers would have arguments about this, and it's just, and I'm just sitting there like, Jews aren't either. I don't like. He's from the Middle East. Like, right. What are you people's problems?
But you couldn't question, because if you questioned the Bible or anything, you were going to hell, straight to hell.
Oh no, I mean, we would, in my mother's family, that anytime we got together, there was always going to be a Bible argument. Always, like every freaking time. It was, it was, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It didn't matter. They're going to argue. I mean, they're going to argue about whatever, and it's just, just stupid shit. Like, there's some passage in the Bible, I don't even know, about, it's a sin to have the price of a dog in your pocket or something. What? And, I mean, they had like a whole argument about this. I'm like, they were arguing over whether dog breeding was a sin.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
People are crazy. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you people. Like, I mean, they would just have these arguments over, just everything out of the Bible.
Yeah. Women not wearing makeup, not wearing jewelry.
No makeup. You're not even allowed to cut your hair.
Yeah. And I remember, thinking some of
don't
these
even think
women,
about putting on a pair of pants.
Yeah. And I was thinking, some of these women need fucking makeup. Because, they're scary, it's funny.
I mean, yeah, it's, you weren't allowed, like, because my mother kind of rebelled against some of that, and she cut her hair, like, real short. And, the family had a fit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they had a fit. She was going to hell. I mean, they just had a fit. It's just, right. But it's, Then I shaved mine into a mohawk, and
Oh yeah, and then you're definitely on your way.
Well, I'm definitely going to hell. I mean, I've been going to hell now for 20-something years in their eyes. So.
Oh well. Hydra.
And yes, they all know I'm a Satanist.
Okay, they do.
They all know, because I just came out. So,
too funny.
Good times. Good times. That was a nice Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh yeah.
Very, very comfortable.
I asked this question really of all the guests. What does being a Satanist mean to you?
It means connecting to your true self. Mm-hmm. Accepting your shortcomings, accepting your good qualities, knowing your own value. there's a lot of people that don't know their own value.
Very true.
Rather, either they overinflate their value or they devalue themselves. Striving to do the best you can do with yourself and your life, whatever that means to you.
Right.
That's what being a Satanist means to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what's next for Hydra M Star?
Oh, wow. I got a lot of little things I'm working on. I don't know what I should. I'm discussing co-hosting a podcast.
Nice.
That's very much in the early stages, but I would have a co-host, and it would be, on Radio Free Satan, most likely.
Very nice.
So that's really up in the air. Continuing with the magazine, of course. Got to keep that going.
All right.
I got, I've mentioned it now, I think 3 times. I got another book I'm going to be releasing really soon. Great Grandmother's Necklace. That should be coming out before the end of the month.
Okay.
Be out before the end of the month. I don't have a hard date on that. And then you've had Alder on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Me and him are going to be working on an anthology together. It's very much in the early stages as well.
Right.
We don't even have guidelines thrown together yet. But it's going to be cannibalism themed. And it's something, it's an idea he pitched to me a while ago, and I was like a year and a half ago. And I was very busy at the time, and now it's just a good time for us to do it. And, he's so charming and all.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Definitely a great guy.
Yeah, and we're going to be working on that. I will be in an anthology series. They put out a book a month. I'll be in the September volume of Fucked Up Fairy Tales. So look for that. And honestly, just go to my website, hydramstar.com.
That's where people can
everything
find
there,
out.
because I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting because I take on a lot.
Right. And they can find your wood burnings and all that there also, right?
They can find links to that. You just look under the Burning Witch tab, and there will be links to the store and a couple of pictures and
Awesome.
things like that. And they can find me on Facebook. Just type in Hydra M Star, and both of my profiles will come up. Though Facebook does not like the name Hydra M Star, so if you want to connect with me on my personal page, that name is Danielle Corbett, which is my middle name. So
Awesome.
yeah. Yeah, you can find me online. That's probably the easiest way to find out what's going on with me.
And I'll leave some links in the descriptions below for people just to click and take them right there. Well, Hydra, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time out of your schedule.
It was a pleasure.
Definitely. Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this show. And y'all know the deal. Until next time, stay safe. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.